Seidel again with the Sober Voyager podcast. Listen, if you're tuning in on the several different Facebook channels we had, if you can, share this video when you get a chance, and just help us grow the channel and embark on the journey of sobriety with us. Hey, anyway, listen, I got a really good show for you guys today. I got a really exciting guest, and I know you're gonna love her. She's amazing. She's just, she is. Her name. Let me just start with this. Her name is Jena Menace.
Yeah.
Okay. And she is a Jen of all trades. She lives a life of service to both recovery and especially the music communities. She's also the publisher, I guess, of Menace Magazine.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, she also is the owner at Generator & Co. Not sure what that is, but I think that's something we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Also, she's the co-owner of Sneaky Thumbs Records. Yeah, and we're going to talk about how you came up with this name of Sneaky Thumbs.
It's a good one.
Also, she's the minister of punk rock weddings at the Universal Life Church Ministry. So if you're out there right now, and you could be on her Facebook, my Facebook, or several other Facebooks right now, because we are kind of trying to reach the biggest audience we can.
Right.
But we want you to be able to. We'll leave a link in the description. So if people want to get married in a punk rock-esque style, definitely we're going to have you be the what do they call it's not a minister, but it's kind of it's the minister of punk rock weddings. That's what you are. And then there was something else on here, too, that I thought was really cool. It says, former cast at Dennis Rodman's Geek to Freak. Mm-hmm. That'll be a topic worth discussing. And then there's the other one, too. It says, former talent cast at Howard Stern Show. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some good stuff. And then I'm just going to go.
I've had a fun life.
You've had a fun life. And then, so that's where we're going to start with that. So let's kind of just go. Why don't you just introduce yourself? Where are you from?
Well, I'm from here in Huntington Beach in Fountain Valley. I grew up here almost my whole life, except for 5 years.
Oh, you're a Baron.
I am a Baron.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
right.
I have many friends that are Charger fans, and but I still love them.
Okay, got it. So you're a Fountain Valley girl. In Fountain Valley, I think they call it. It's a nice place to live. I've
that
heard
is
that.
What they say.
That's what
I'm
they
from
say.
the hardcore neighborhood of Bouchard and Warner.
Woo! Bouchard and Warner. Let's see. That's like over kind of by the high school, right? You know what? That is the weirdest corner. That corner, Bouchard and Warner, is like a nothing corner of there's like a car wash now over there, and there's a couple little strip malls there, but it's like.
It used to be a bitchin' corner.
Was it?
Oh my gosh! When I was a kid. There was junior market, so we'd ride our bikes over and get candy or whatever.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday mornings, every Saturday morning, we'd go get donuts at Angel Food Donuts, right?
Uh-huh.
And then we'd drive or ride across Warner and go to Del Taco. And then there was a sticker store in there when we were kids, and we'd go buy stickers because that's back in the day when there were sticker books.
Mm-hmm.
And Photon was there. I don't know if you remember Photon, but it was a laser tag place in the, I think it was like the late 80s maybe. And then, down the street from there was the Family Fun Center. So there was Malibu track and, skating, golf. It was such a rad area to grow up.
So that was, but if you go by there now, it looks like this weird dead, just kind of a strange little pocket of what city is this?
Yeah, it's weird. Only people go to that corner is for Little Caesars Pizza now, I guess.
Caesars Pizza. There's like a Jiffy Lube or a car wash or something on the corner over there. I don't know. Every time I go by there, I'm like, Valvoline, yeah. All right, we'll give a plug for Valvoline. So Fountain Valley, born and raised, went to high school there. Did you graduate high school?
Yes, kind of. I went to Fountain Valley High.
Uh-huh.
And then I moved on to Wintersburg.
Oh, good for you. That's where all the winners go.
Yeah.
Wintersburg, Wintersburg.
Right.
It's not.
So
Is it winners or winners?
Freshman, sophomore, and the very, very beginning of junior year. At Fountain Valley High, and then moved on to Wintersburg. I didn't graduate from Wintersburg. I dropped out of school my senior year with minimal credits to finish, but I did get my GED.
Good.
So I got my GED and moved on to crazier things.
So that's how you got in. So now it says here you studied as an assistive technology and human services at Cal State Northridge. Mm-hmm. What was that all about? What is that? What's assistive technology?
So I fit people for custom wheelchairs.
Oh, okay.
So assistive technology is any device that assists a human. So whether they're needing, tablets, for speech writing, something for audiology, it could be a wheelchair, anything. A walker is assistive technology.
Okay, got it.
Hearing
So
aid.
that's part of what you do now too, then, right?
Right.
Okay,
And then there's
it.
the human services part, and that's my favorite part.
Connecting with people. Mm-hmm. Got it. All right. So tell me a little bit about. I saw you brought a couple books in here too. You brought in. Looks like we have the big book, and we have a Keep It Simple, and we also have Stools and Bottles. And you said, I've never seen this. Now I've seen this Keep It Simple book before. Of course, this is like the Hazelton brand, Daily Meditations, 12 Steps. But I've never heard of Stools and Bottles. So how is it that you got this? You come out of Fountain Valley, going to college.
No,
No. Oh, that's
you
not
jumped
college.
many years ahead.
Okay, so let's start. Let's go. So what I'm saying is, let's start from there and go. How did we get to here?
Okay, well, let's go into that then. So
Yeah.
by the time I was 13, I was already a full-blown alcoholic.
Okay.
So I was, I guess I was like it was summer before high school, because I think I was in high school at 14. And so summer before, I started drinking. And then by the time 9th and 10th grade, came around, I was already a mess. And I think it was, by the time I was 15, I was a drug addict as well. Mm-hmm. So, and it wasn't like, minimal, oh, she could stop. It was gnarly drugs and alcohol at the age of, 13 to 15. And that's what caused me to get kicked out of Fountain Valley High and sent to Wintersburg.
All right. Good job. Way to win.
My behavior was awful. And, I ended up, what's a creative way to say? I dropped out of Wintersburg to become a full-time substance entrepreneur.
Oh, that very well put. You're good at that.
Yes, my child Googles me. So fill in the blanks and don't write them in the comments.
Substance entrepreneur? I'll have to remember that.
And I made my first $100,000 when I was 17 years old. And I thought, I don't know why I need high school. I got all this money. And, I just stuck with that. And then next thing you know, I kept going on all these state and county paid vacations. And, at one point, I think it was 1997, October 6, 1997, I woke up one morning and I said, today's the day. It was like I woke up with a spiritual experience, and I never used again after that. And I had been sober 14 months when I was 19.
Okay.
I relapsed because I turned 21. So it was like the very end of 19 and the very beginning of me turning 21.
Okay.
And I relapsed. And so I wasn't in program that long, I still didn't get it. And then there was the 7 years after that where I was just raining havoc on the world.
So in 1997, how old were you?
I was like 20.
That's your sobriety date. What's your sobriety date?
No. I've been sober 3 times.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
But my first sobriety date was, I think it was in January. I can't remember. I made it 6 years. No, it was April. I think it was in April as well. Something like that. It's hard to remember now.
Right.
But I made it back somehow, and the same thing happened. I just knew it was done. I woke up and said, this is the last day. And, I had lived a gnarly life and seen just all kinds of gnarly things that you wouldn't think a young person would see, but
well, give us an example. Give us like some horrendous story that you can say, even though somebody might Google you,
right?
And you might not want them to know, but there's got to be a way to work around.
Like I think by the time I was 6 years old, there was I don't want to say which group of bikers, they beat through our house looking for somebody, broke the door down, and held guns to me and my mom's head. I was 5. I think I was 5 then. And it was just a continuous of like all that violence and guns and gangs and...
Right. So you kind of grew up around a very, like, so your parents were also kind of...
My mom was. My dad's like he's the best. First of all, let me just say my dad's the best.
Oh yeah, tell us about your dad. He's the best.
He doesn't drink. He doesn't use drugs. He's like, your typical like hippie that, he doesn't smoke weed, but he loves like John Lennon, and like he's just this total kickback guy. He's a genius, academic genius. He's
nice.
like he's lived his life of service my whole life. That's kind of where I get it, my dad's amazing. Okay. My mom was amazing too. My mom died, but she was the addict.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
And your dad just put up with that, or how? I mean,
no,
he
well,
just
they divorced when I was 5.
Oh, okay,
which
got it.
Makes sense why the bikers came into our house, because my mom was 16 when she had me, so she was young.
Yeah.
We grew up together, like if I was 5 and she was 16 when she had me, you were talking about a 21-year-old girl.
Yeah,
right?
with a 5-year-old. That's almost unbelievable.
And a 1-year-old.
And a 1-year-old.
I have a sister, so my little sister was sleeping in her crib when all that happened. But it's like she was growing up. She was doing, I turned 21 and relapsed. So, she turned 21 and was divorced and using. So it's kind of a parallel situation, And
like they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so to speak. So you kind of felt like you did. Was it because you saw your mom still living this lifestyle?
I just wanted to be cool like her.
You wanted to be cool like her.
And that's why I'm very careful about things when it comes to
And you are cool. You're still cool.
But I really worked at, doing all the things my mom did, which explains, where I ended up with that profession that I had.
Right.
And my mom had the same profession for a long time.
So you kind of learned from one of the best, your mom. She was teaching. So let me ask you this. So you said you had 3 different sobriety dates, and the first one started in 97, I think you said?
No, the first one was 1991.
91. And you were young.
July 10th, 1992. July 10th, 1992.
All right.
And I stayed sober 14 months and then turned 21 and decided that you can't be 21 without a drink.
Sure. I get
So
it.
I used it as, I didn't have a belly, I had a belly full of AA, but I didn't live and work the principles. I, did the steps, like write it down just so the sponsor isn't, the perceived on my back sponsor wouldn't be on my back, which is funny. I have the same sponsor now that I've always had. And, we've grown up together, and, I just come home and I want to come home, and she greets me with open arms.
Oh, that saying about keep coming back,
It
actually works, right?
It does. It does. So my second sobriety date, I was out there 7 years or so, I think. And then I got sober in 2010. I stayed sober 6 years.
Okay.
During that 6 years, I went into college. I was introduced to college by, some people will know this man. He's one of the best men that ever lived in this area. His name is Dr. Woolbright, and he was big into Toastmasters, and he owned cactus gardens and things like that. And he did Toastmasters, and he introduced me to the idea of going to college, and so he got me to enroll in Orange Coast College, and I thrived in that institution. It felt very comfortable.
Right. Orange Coast College did?
And so I ended up getting an AA with transfer, and I found out, I did a lot of testing and found out that the problems I had in school were not because I was dumb. It was that I had learning disabilities. And once I got those in check, I thrived. I found out I was smart, and I just loved it. And I ended up being on the president's honors list, the dean's list, like all these things. And I got an AA with transfer.
Okay.
And then I transferred to Long Beach State.
Oh.
And then I got my bachelor's degree in political science with an emphasis in comparative politics and a minor in anthropology.
Wow. There's a good topic, Joe. I mean, we could somehow in this conversation, we could segue into what's going on politically, if that's something you ever talk about. But I mean, it's funny. The word political science came up to me today earlier. I was leaving my yoga class, and I asked this one gal where her husband was, and she said, he was up late watching, watching political stuff that was happening last night. I guess the debate, was it last night or something? And he watched that, and I go, oh wow, well, I mean, why was he watching? I mean, you either know or you don't know. You don't have to watch these two go back and forth. It's kind of like a fake debate anyway. There's no live audience, right? And I thought, I asked that question, why is he watching that? Isn't he already made his decision, which I think most people kind of have in these kind of scenarios. But she said, because, he's interested because his major was political science. And I thought to myself, I don't even know what political science is, like the science of politics, I guess.
What I did was I compared and contrasted our political system with Latin American political systems.
Oh, nice.
So I just kind of did a lot of research and stuff on how things work over there and how things work over here and what's better, what's worse, all that stuff.
Okay.
And my idea was I majored in political science because I was really big into activism, and 3 strikes law was a thing at the time.
Oh, I had 4 of them because of that.
Yeah, and I was very, very, and always will be very against a 3 strikes law because, I mean, it's one thing to get a strike for having a gun or, doing something violent, but it's another thing for stealing a pizza and ending up doing life. Yeah. So I was very much a part of trying to overturn that, and so that's why I picked political science, and then I got bored, and I was working for a political party, and the politics behind the scenes are very messy and very dirty, and I was just like, I'm, in program, like I can't live this like dishonesty. It just makes me angry.
It's kind of wild to go from like the kind of the stories, the life, is just even the stuff you were talking about as a kid, and then growing up, and then becoming a substance abuse entrepreneur and going down that path. Then all of a sudden you go to college. Like think about and then I'm looking at these books right here. They look like you're avidly participating in your recovery program just by looking at your little what do they call it? What are these?
There's a lot of tabs.
A lot of tabs. That's a lot of tabs.
There's a lot of cool stuff, and the things that are most important are in that book. And this was my original big book from the first time I was sober. So I've had it since I was 19. It's my, and
it stayed together this whole time. It does have a really cool gloss to it or something. What did you do to that? To keep it like that? Did you put some kind of magic on it?
Tape or something on it up there, but I don't know. I guess I respect my book.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, if you look in it, it's colored all over the place.
Sure.
There's like all kinds of writing. It's like it's used and still used. I'm still highlighting and underlining.
So that was in January of 2010 is when you got sober the last time, or there was another time?
I've been sober 3 times. So I got, my mom died in January of 2007. Mm-hmm. I had 6 years sober at the time. And by April 18th, I was drunk.
Got it.
So I pretty much just used my grief and my mom's death as an excuse to drink. I hadn't set myself up for success, and I wasn't living the principles of the program, so I drank. You drank.
So going back to that, so when I always ask this question, kind of whenever somebody relapses, the first thing I want to know is, okay, so what do you think if you go back in time and go, I wasn't living the principle of the program, but what does that actually mean in terms of there's only I think on page 24, it says, you know, we can't remember the pain and suffering a week or a month ago. We're without defense against the first drink. So when life happens, life on life's terms, you know, we're going to experience death. We're going to experience tragedy, and we're going to experience great success too. And all of those are good catalysts to forget and lose our defense against the first drink. So if you were to go back and say to me or to anybody, if you were to like try to pinpoint, like, so what defense would I have been, would I have been able to implement at that time in that grief and that situation? What kind of defenses would I have had to have in place that would have prevented that first drink from taking place?
Okay, I'm going to answer that in two parts.
Yes.
The first thing I want to say is thank you to my higher power for those 2 relapses, because of them, amazing things happened in my life. I mean, huge learning experiences and blessings came my way from both of those relapses. So it was part of my higher power's plan for me. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm alive. And all that information that I learned, I used it.
Right.
So the second part is, what would I've done to prevent it? Well, I didn't call people. Okay. First of all, I didn't. I was going to meetings, but it was like more, in my head, it was more of like a social event instead of like actively participating in my program,
right.
You know. I was in the me stage, and I had made it all about me, and I was back into that self-centered, you know, all about me thinking. Poor Jena, you know, and, you know, all of those things, that would have prevented me from drinking again. But I used none of my tools. Matter of fact, I spent 4 months or whatever it was, like thinking about when I was going to be drinking, how much longer I was going to wait before I drank. Like, I had already known I was going to drink. It was like, my mom's dead and I'm going to drink. She's my best friend. I can't live life without her. I just want to suffer. You know?
Okay. So what, I guess in the end, like if you were suggesting something, so accountability, so being transparent with, like, even whether it was your sponsor or a group of girls that you had, or friends, guys, whoever, you're not talking to people, not communicating would kind of be like one of the most.
Yeah.
I mean, because if I look at your situation too, and I think about every situation that I'm ever in, when I'm honest with somebody and I'm communicating with somebody about what's going on, like the thought of, you know, I want to drink, I'm going to do this no matter what. This is where I'm at. This is what's happening. And allowing them, because I think step 2 is what? Step 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, right? So a lot of times people will go, oh, hey, you know what? That's going to be my God consciousness or my higher power. Or maybe it's going to be these people that God has put in my life. And that's going to be the power greater than myself that keeps me from taking that first drink. The only difference is either A, I am in relationship with them, like real relationship, and I actually have like open dialogue and communication. So I don't know, like going forward, like even like, because the idea is if we're on this journey together in recovery and we go to meetings, right? We go to meetings to share our experience, strength, and hope. We come on shows like this and we do our own shows. I know you got a lot of stuff going on yourself.
Yeah.
There's always something I go, you know, what's the takeaway for somebody when it comes to, because life's happening all the time around us every day. We don't know what's going to happen out there, but are we like prepared for it? That's where that word defense comes from.
Well, first of all, I wasn't prepared for it. Second of all, I had not fully submitted to this program. Like, relapse was inevitable. It was, you've got to really put all your eggs into this basket. You got to, when they say you got to want it more than anything in the world, they really mean it. Like, I was just, when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I just didn't want to live like that anymore, and I wanted to live. I mean, not just live, I wanted to really live.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to live my life.
Who said again? I wanted to really live.
Like,
that looked
really,
good.
I wanted to go places. I wanted to see things. I wanted to experience life, instead of just doing the same mundane thing over and over again, you know. And I couldn't do that, you know, if I was drinking. And the clock was ticking. I had said for years I didn't want to be a mom because, you know, I was a mess, you know. And, you know, I tried, after I got married, we tried for 3 years.
To what? Get sober?
To get pregnant. I was sober.
Get pregnant. Oh, okay.
I was sober 3 years and then finally got pregnant. Okay, so like all those years before, like God was just like, not you, not yet. You know what I mean?
We're not giving you a kid. You're going to destroy that kid, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like when I was 3 years sober, you know, I had to put a lot. I was 39, so I had to put a lot of work in. There was not many eggs left by that time, you know.
Okay, so you had your first kid at 39.
Yeah, my only child.
Oh, your only child. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I got sober at 39.
So I guess
that's a good age.
The difference with this time is like I just fully went into this thing completely defeated and fully submitted. Like I woke up the one morning just like the other times, and I knew this time was different. Something was very, very different. I could feel it in my whole body. It was literally a spiritual experience, and I knew that I was going to do this program for the rest of my life. And I don't even have to choose to do it. It's automatic now. I mean, in the beginning, I'd have to choose to work the program, right? You know, get into all these habits of doing these things. Now I wake up, I'm just happy that I get to do it, and I'm part of it. It's just everyday life now.
Yeah. So I got a question. Like, one of the things, like, we're all like, yeah, we're cheerleaders for recovery. I'm about it. I've been sober a while. I got books like this, and I do that. But sometimes I go to meetings, and I'm like, fuck, this meeting's driving me crazy. These guys are going to share the same shit, or, oh, he's going to say this. I know what they're going to say. And you just sit there and like, oh, no, they're going to talk about God, or they're going to, and then she's going to talk about themselves. Her cat or themselves. How are you dealing? How do you like, you know, what is, I mean, do you like, you know, I mean, there's just always that guy or girl that's just like.
Hey, I was that girl too a long time ago. But, you know, now the difference is I don't think about me.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in a meeting and there's all these newcomers usually, or at least a couple, right?
Yeah.
And they're sick and they're hurting and they're afraid and they have not worked the steps. They don't. I mean, they could be chronic relapsers and it's never connected with them, you know. And my whole goal is to like say something small that, you know, makes me hopefully gives them a similarity. You know what I mean? And then I talk about recovery.
Sure.
I talk about how maybe a situation happened and how I use my program to, you know, go through that situation and act like a 52-year-old woman in recovery, like acting my age. A lot of people don't think that that's important, but, you know, we got to grow up sometime. A lot of people live in the past.
Ugh, I hate that word.
But acting, that doesn't.
But I know, I get it. No, I know what you mean. And you know what's funny? That's kind of what emotional sobriety really is about.
Right.
There's a lot of instances where we get to like, we're presented with like what I was just saying, when you're reacting to other people and you react poorly, that's a sign of like low emotional sobriety. And the higher your emotional sobriety, actually, unfortunately, the truth is the more adult you are, because now you're not letting your emotions and your reaction to cat lady or, you know, relapse guy or drunk-a-log guy, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we're not building resentments against people. And that's being mature and emotional. That's kind of like
let's not use the word mature, but
well,
it sounds old. But
mature?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
what did you say? Adult?
Yeah, I'm just being silly.
Okay.
My point is like I just wanted to go through things with God's grace, and I want to behave like a woman in recovery that's actively working the program.
100%.
So when other women see me, and they've heard maybe some of my story, they can connect with me and say, well, dang, if Jena can do this thing.
You know, when I read, guys, when I read out of this book right here, I always take everybody to the last page of the preface. Mm-hmm. So on the last page of the preface, it says, as you read through one of the 42 stories in the back of the book, it says, if you have a drinking problem, we hope that you may pause in reading one of the 44 personal stories and think, yes, that happened to me. Or more important, yes, I've felt like that. Or most important, yes, I believe this program can work for me. So the essence of what I'm saying is like what you just got done saying. It's like right out of the preface, whatever you call it. they're telling us how important your story is to connect with the newcomer, so that as they read through it, as they listen to you, just like one of the stories, because your life is part of this big book. The stories that you have, you could fill up this whole volume of stories. We could write Pulp Fiction about everybody's lives in AA. But the goal is, like you said, is to identify with the newcomer and having them say, "Oh wow, look at if that girl can get sober, I can get sober."
Yeah, and it's not like I just got sober the one time. Some people get sober and they stay.
I
right?
did that. I got sober. What happened to me was I got sober at 39, but I'd been on the, I had extracurricular, what would you call it? Something about entrepreneurial.
Oh, yeah.
Substance abuse entrepreneurship. I had that, but it didn't, I ended up going in, they locked me up for that, but not for a long time, but
Right.
I did when I discovered AA, then when I really discovered it, I accepted it, and I just saw the opportunity and I went with it, I forgot what I was going to say. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Keep me on track.
We're all alcoholics here. That means we probably all suffer from ADD.
Oh, I got that totally. That's like my biggest problem.
That's like most addicts and alcoholics do.
Okay, so let's go into a little bit about your life and this you've got this great you've got your recovery life, and then you've got this music life, and how did the music life, substance abuse, music life, and then recovery, is there a coming together of all those things at different times? Was there a time in your life where it was sex, drugs, rock and roll, and then all of a sudden, kind of in and out of AA, in and out of sobriety, but then you're trying to keep one foot in your old life, and how are you navigating all that?
But no. So there's two halves to this. It's before I came back to the program this time, I was a model, and I did a lot of traveling, and I sold music accessories for musicians. So I have guitar slides that are made by Big Heart Slide. They're these incredibly sounding glass slides that people love. And I toured the lower half of the United States and all the way up to New York, and I was, on a lot of.
As a salesperson, you mean?
No, it was my own music line. But since I was already doing all this touring across the country, and doing all these other appearances and such, I was on Howard Stern. You're probably going to ask about that,
right? Yeah.
So I was up to New York, and then.
Are these during your party days or sober days?
No, sober.
Okay, this is sober.
Yeah.
Okay.
So during that time, I had that business, which is called Generator and Company.
Okay.
And I was, traveling and doing all these, music accessories and such. And then, and that's how I kind of connected with the music world then.
Okay. What year was that?
2000s, I'd say between.
So it was in the 2000s.
Yeah. It was like 2005, probably. I've always been somewhat connected to the music community in one way or another, but I think in 2005 to 2000, maybe 10.
Okay.
Before I got sober.
Okay.
That time. 2005 to probably 2010, maybe something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, I was really connected. I met a lot of musicians, a lot of high-profile musicians, and then, I decided I was done. I was just done, and things were over. The boyfriend that I had at the time was also my manager, and we broke up, and I was just like...
So you were performing?
I was doing all kinds of appearances, yeah.
But as a model, or?
No, but I was at a lot of venues.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Venues.
Right, yeah.
And then, when that part of life ended, and that ending part, my mom died, and I started drinking.
Okay, got
and
it.
so that's when the relapse happened, and then I met my husband, my ex-husband, and we were sober together. We both quit drinking together. He quit like a year before me.
I like how you're very cryptic.
Well, I'm not. If you know, you know.
Okay,
you know
yeah,
what
I
mean?
get it. I know, I get it. I'm
I
just like, hey, I get it. You're like,
I'm a mom,
you're a
and
mom,
my kid
and you're a
Googles
business
me.
person. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, 100%.
So fill in the blanks and don't write them in the comments.
Does she ever watch these kind of things?
Well, and
She
her
doesn't-
friends.
Oh, and her friends do,
Like
yeah.
they Google me.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
You know,
They all want to see
they're all
what they're
on
all doing.
TikTok and going, "Oh, look at your mom." You
Oh,
know,
right, yeah.
Or
Okay.
YouTube or wherever I'm at. So I try to be careful.
Got it.
Just out of respect. When she's older, I'll give her the whole story, but
Yeah.
not while she's in middle school.
Yeah. That's too young. Yeah.
So anyway, I came home and got sober and met my husband, and then we got married in 2009, and by 2010 I was sober and he had been sober a year, and that's when we decided, my clock is ticking. If I'm going to be a mom, I got to stop being scared. If I'm ever going to do this, now is it. This is the only time.
Right.
And we had gone to Oklahoma where my mom lived, and because I had a storage of all her stuff. I went to my mom's grave, and I was standing over her grave, and I started crying. It'll probably choke me up because it makes me cry every time. And I said, "Mama, I'm having a hard time getting pregnant. Will you please help me?"
Oh, that's awesome.
Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And at 11:32 that night, I peed on the stick and got a happy face. And I woke up my husband. I said, "It's go time." And so I got pregnant on January 25th,
Oh, nice.
2012. And that was my mom's date of death.
Wow.
I know, it's so crazy. Sorry. It tears me up every time. And, she's been gone since 2007. But the story still moves me because the power of prayer, it works.
I believe that too. I also believe that certain people have a connection to the universe and a connection to each other. And when you really look at like situations like that, the miracle of what you just got done saying, even at the timing, like you said, okay, it was her, the day you got pregnant was her
date of death.
Date of death. That's amazing. So there's something to that, right?
Yeah, it was 2012 and she died in 2007. So it had been quite a number of years.
Yeah.
And my ex-husband and I picked up all the things of my mom's that were in storage. And my grandmother was fighting leukemia at the time and not going to make it much longer. So I needed to say goodbye to her. And I think it was like, I forget how many years later. It wasn't that trip. But I got to bring my grandma when I was out there again, the video of my daughter inside my belly. And she didn't make it to see her born, but she did get to see the sonogram and stuff. So it was really cool. The whole thing is super moving because it was just like God telling me, "You're going to be okay. And I believe in you, and you can do this, and your life is better, and it's changed."
That's an amazing story, actually. I have kind of a similar story. It's kind of a reverse thing, because on December 3rd, I was on my knees praying, God, I need to be sober. I need to be sober January 2nd. I have to go back to work. And, I made all these bargains, and I said I was going to do this, and I was going to do that. And I came downstairs, and I told my girlfriend at the time, I said, "Hey, listen, we're going to stop getting high. I'm going to stop getting high on December 14th, and I'm going to show up to work, and I'm going to be sober on January 2nd. And, of course, December 14th came and went, 15th came and went, but every intention I ever had, every plan that I had when I wanted to do something, especially when it comes to trying to stop, the book talks about count, I don't know, it's like on my own I couldn't do it, right? But on December 22nd, my house got raided, and make a long story short, we got evicted, and that day, it's not my sobriety date, but it just happened to be December 22nd. Something about dates, right? Well, fast forward now till 2015, I think it was 2015 that my dad died, and out of nowhere, it was December 22nd. Now, years later, right? And I'd been sober. I had this business. Surf City Recovery was happening. Everything was going great in my life. I'd been sober, I think now in I think it was, well, what year it was? 2015. So I had 10 years of sobriety, just a little over 10 years of sobriety. But on that very day, I woke up out of I just woke up out of the blue, and I at the time I told my wife, hey, I'm not going to go to the office today. I'm going to go visit my dad. I'm going to go surprise my dad. I know I just want to talk to him, have coffee with him. He's always up like me. He gets up early in the morning. So I'm just going to drive out to Hemet where he lives. And when I get out, and make a long story short, I don't want to go into the details of it because it's really about kind of like focusing on how the universe can collaborate in these weird ways with specific dates. Because on that day that I woke up out of the blue, nowhere, that was his last day, that he took his last breath that day.
Wow.
And I just happened to go out there, stop what I was doing. Out of nowhere, I was able to call my brother, my two sisters, and have everybody come in that was in town or get on the phone and talk to my dad. Because when I went out to Emmett, I found out he was in the hospital in a DNR floor. He was on the do not resuscitate floor. Because when I called him, I didn't know where I go, where are you at? It sounds like you're in like a tunnel or like underwater. He goes, oh, well, he was so out of it, he didn't even know where he was at. And we didn't know he was there. He'd been there for like 3 days. And
oh my gosh.
And I guess my stepmom and them, all the people he lived with, they didn't bother to call us or tell us or anything.
Holy cow.
Yeah, holy cow, right? And I just happened to wake up that very day and
God
just drive
shot.
all the way over there. So there's no other kind of God shot that gets that specific. Like
Right.
out of nowhere, how does that happen? So if you doubt whether there's something in the universe or God, I mean, I believe in God. I do believe in that. You know, I have a higher power, very specific. And
I do too.
And that was probably one of those, another moment in time, and it happened to be the same date as when I got arrested, and my whole life changed that day. The trajectory of my life was going in a certain direction. For whatever reason, the direction it was going, December 22nd, is a specific day for me. And I don't know what it was, but on that day of my dad's death, and it was beautiful. You know, I got to go with him and talk to him and discuss with him and share the next 12 hours of our lives together and assure him that his legacy is, I'm sober, I'm good, I'm 10 years, this is what's happening, you know. And I just think that that's like when you just told your story about getting pregnant on the date, that's the first thing that popped into my mind. And I've always looked at it like certain people, these things don't happen to everybody. It's a fact. Not everybody gets the nod, the tap, it's just a thing. Right. You know, and so when you have that, you have to recognize it and actually really remember that you have some kind of power that it's not available to everybody, or they're just not tuned into it. But it sounds like you're kind of tuned into it.
Yeah, I'm really, I don't know if it's like my subconscious mind, if it's God, if you know, my mom is sitting next to me all the time, or all three. I don't know. I just know that I feel it, and I feel it strongly, and it's been steering me right for quite a while now, you know.
Probably there's so many instances that have come and gone that were also there and available to you, but you didn't see. Like, well, I remember coming into recovery and hearing people talk about miracles, and the only type of miracle I ever thought was my belief system was always a miracle was something like turning water into wine, some supernatural event, right? That doesn't happen.
A burning bush,
a supernatural event.
Talking donkey.
Yeah, right. Yeah, talking donkey. Yeah, exactly. So I always associate with it like those are miracles. Those things don't happen anymore. But when I got into recovery, all of a sudden I started seeing things. The first thing I saw was that I was a miracle. And it said that on page 1 of the Daily Reflections, January 1st, because my sobriety date's January 2nd. And it
makes
says
perfect sense.
And it says, in the January 1st says, I am a miracle. And it goes on to explain the what makes that and how you should start seeing, and your perception will immediately change, and you will start seeing the miracles that are taking place every day, especially in the recovery community.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's like a really one of those, I don't know, the testimony today seems to be that a miracle has to be a supernatural event, but we in recovery, we're seeing them all the time.
Oh, every day for me. You know,
every day.
I too, I was my first miracle.
Yeah.
Like when I realized, I'm like, holy cow. And I have this thing that I always say, do you want to be a monster or a miracle? What you choose today, Jena, because the monster sucked. You know what I mean? But the miracle is kind, is loving, brings joy, and embraces the silly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I totally do.
I don't want to be a monster anymore.
Yeah, I saw one night I'd been up. I was kind of up always, so meth was my drug of choice most of the time. And I'd been on like a run for, I don't know, 5 years. About 5 years straight, And one night, I'd do 3 days on, 1 day off was kind of my routine. But after the 3 days, I usually needed to sleep for like 15 hours straight, right? But this particular night, I took 2 shots of, I don't know, some green drink. And my friends go, come on, we got tickets. We're going to go see Motorhead, Dio, and Iron Maiden over at Irvine Meadows, or I think it was called Irvine. It was Irvine Meadows, Lion Country Safari. Remember where that was?
Oh, I loved that place when I was a kid.
I mean, and so I'd already been up for 3 days. I took those 3 shots and then smoked a big joint with them, and we got to this concert, right? And you want to talk about like you go the monster, or you're the silly person or whatever. Now I'm kind of like a silly kooky dude, but back then I was like, I used to see myself as like this general in the Legion of Doom, and I'm not even kidding, because remember,
I'm identifying.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing.
Because I felt like with that night particularly, like when the first Motorhead came out, it was kind of badass concert. I want to tell you that, and then it was still light out when Motorhead played. And then all of a sudden, Ronnie James Dio came out. And I mean, Ronnie James Dio is badass.
You always have to go. Ronnie James Dio, you have to put your finger up.
Yeah, like
he
that.
Always does that.
Yeah, it's like, he's badass. But then the lights started going down, and it was kind of like, and I'd already been whatever was happening to me, there was something taking place, some kind of, I don't know, possession taking place. Because as soon as the lights came down and where I was sitting, I went straight to the front. And then all of a sudden, Iron Maiden comes on. It's dark out, and the music, and they're playing, and it's like you felt this darkness come over everything. It was kind
I've
of.
I've been to a lot of Maiden shows at Irvine Meadows.
Yeah, you might have been there that day. I don't know. It was a good concert. You would have remembered it. But I went up to the very front. I remember, and it was one of the things when I got into recovery. I was always believed in God and stuff like that. But you know what kind of always solidified my belief in God more than anything is that there was a dark force out there, a power that was greater than myself at work, and it wasn't a power for good. And I didn't just know it was there. I embraced it. I was wanted to be a part of it, and I felt and I saw, and things that when we're talking about miracles. I really truly feel that God plucked me from the depths of a dark place, and kind of literally gave me this book was the way out of that hell that I was in. And not that I was like a participant in it. You know what I mean? And today, this whole idea of miracles and stuff like that is one of the most important parts of my recovery. And even when I was looking at all these things on your life, where you're at in your life today, having discussed some of the things where you've been, you've got Menace magazine. That's a miracle. Well, tell me about Menace magazine.
Well,
is it an actual magazine, or is it an online magazine?
It's an online magazine.
It's an online magazine.
So I do the magazine with Paul Hostage.
Okay.
I'm a photographer. I love taking live rock and roll photography. I don't like just sitting there with a backdrop and just click. I like to be running back and forth, trying to get the shot, trying to get the musician standing in the best, coolest
pose.
Way. The drumsticks are on the upbeat, so they're not
Yeah.
I love it. And I guess it's because I modeled for so many years that being behind the camera, just I hadn't considered that. And then when I picked up the camera for the first time, I was like, oh, I love this.
What kind of camera do you shoot with?
Canon R6.
Okay. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds good.
It's a mirrorless camera, and it's very big and very heavy.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So it's a traditional, not a digital.
No, it's a digital.
Oh, it is digital.
It's a mirrorless, so it's anyway.
It's a good camera.
It's a very good camera. It's very heavy, and my lens that I usually shoot with is this long. It's and it's just as heavy.
What was the last show that you were at shooting?
I just did a live stream at Blind Dog Records with Cornfed Project, and so I live streamed them. Paul and I did, and so I took pictures of them. But I'm everywhere. It's hard to keep up. I mean, I'm like, seriously, it's hard to keep up with me. Like, my kiddo just saw a picture with me with oh gosh, his name's on the tip of my tongue. Trujillo.
Robert? Not Metallica.
Suicide. Yes, there you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Suicide. His son plays in Suicidal Tendencies. Right.
Yeah.
And so him and Chloe came out to see him play and such. And so I was backstage, just talking to him and his wife real quick. And there's a picture of me with him, and my kiddo saw it and goes, "Isn't that the..." Yes, that's the guy. She just can't believe
it. So
it.
you got the bass player from Metallica, or she might have recognized him as Suicidal Tendencies before. She knows Metallica.
Metallica's one of her favorite bands,
cool.
She recognized him right away. And then I, of course, had to tell her about Suicidal and all that. And so, I mean, there's I'm all over the place. I know I have so many friends in the music community, and I guess I should tell you the overlap in that, how that happened.
How did that happen?
The other half of what we were talking about earlier is in Sobriety, there is somebody sober in every band. Yeah. I can go to any band because I go to meetings with them.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. So, they're all in meetings, yeah.
So I know like at least one, sometimes more, in all the bands. And so all I'm doing is shooting pictures of my friends. And so as it turns out, even the bigger bands have somebody sober in them. So I just... I'm here, there, and everywhere.
Right. So do these guys that because since it's 12-step programs are generally anonymous. I mean, we're not anonymous. Obviously,
right.
We're here.
Yeah, I can't say who it is.
You can't say who it is or where they're from. But do they usually have? I'm curious. Do they not want you to talk about? I mean, obviously nobody does, but everybody likes publicity in the sense. But I mean, how do they? You go to these meetings where these people are at, and do they stress to people to be, respect their anonymity, so to speak?
You just kind of
do it
because I mean, you're there to, help the newcomer. You're there to stay sober. You're there to be of service. You're not there to talk shop.
Yeah.
But usually, there's talk before a meeting or after a meeting before somebody go, "Oh, hey, what do you want to do about this and that?" And quick, if it's a quickie, but you're not going to sit there and have long conversation. But like I said, there's somebody, and I mean, you can go to any meeting. We can talk about. There's one artist we can talk about for sure, and that's Jack Grisham. Everybody knows Jack Grisham.
Oh yeah,
the lead singer of TSOL. The whole band.
Yeah, we're trying to get Jack on the show.
Right.
He's from here. He's close
yes,
to my
and he probably would say yes.
Yeah. He's just a busy guy. I mean, his office is right down the street from here. He does his conversations with the drunk. And I know he just came out with a book and stuff like that. He's super about his recovery.
He's an incredible speaker, and you will have a fun podcast if you know it. But he usually does, if it's a sober thing, he'll most likely say yeah.
Yeah.
But we can talk about TSOL because the whole, the band is sober, except Brandon's playing for Roach now. But, all the guys, Greg,
I just saw him play at the HB Board Riders Club.
Right. Ron Emery. They're all very vocal when they play. It's very there's publicly known that they're all in sobriety.
Yeah.
And here in this area, if you go to a meeting, you're going to see, you'll probably see Jack.
Yeah, I see him.
Yeah. So it's that's somebody we can talk about without pulling anybody's covers, but that's because he put it out there.
Yeah. So I was just wondering how the other guys do that. He's Mr. Sobriety,
Yeah.
I'm going to call him Mr. If he ever sees this, I'll call him Mr. Depth and Weight because he hates that saying.
I have learned so much from he's got one book that I read every day live with the drunk tank, and we went through that whole book. And what's the name of? Can you somebody Google the name of it? I can't think of the name of it right now. But we read that whole dang book, and I learned so much just from reading that book. You know, it was
the Principles book.
Yeah.
The Principles of the Program, I think it's called, or something. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think so.
If you haven't read it, I read a paragraph a day or something like that.
Yeah.
It took a long time, but we talk about the paragraph that I read, and I mean, it was really good. And then he's come and done panels when I've asked. And
you know, it's funny. I was looking at pictures of him back when he was a kid.
Oh yeah.
He was like not a kid, but look, he's like a super handsome man.
Yeah, he's still a good-looking guy, I think.
Yeah.
I love watching him and his girl Jennifer.
Yeah.
Their interactions crack me up. I love them as a couple, and think they're just right for each other.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, that's
principle of recovery.
Yeah,
right?
That's it. That was a good one.
All right, cool. So we got that. We got a little bit. Sneaky Thumb Records.
Yeah.
Tell us about Sneaky Thumb Records.
So, just to go right before it. So in this year, actually, in December, I got my master's degree, and then in May, I walked and did the whole commencement and all these honors things and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so during that time, this year, starting in January, Paul Hostage and I created a new record label because him and Rick Hostage had been doing Hostage Records for many years. But they wanted to retire the label, but Paul really wanted to keep putting out records, and he talked to me about it, and I was like, oh, I totally want to invest in that. So I got some money together, and he got some money together, and we created a record label. We've got
So as you guys actually make vinyl records?
Vinyl records. Nice. It's just like Hostage was, but it's Paul and I. And our first release is coming out very soon.
Nice.
It's called Mixed Results. And then shortly after Mixed Results is Loose Trucks vinyl. And then we've got some other people in the pipeline that I can't mention right now, but I can talk about the two that are going to be coming out. So,
and where will people buy these records?
Well, they'll for sure be at Vinyl Solution.
Okay.
Because Paul works over there part-time. And then they'll probably be in the other local stuff, and you can get them online.
Okay.
Excuse me. We have a big cartel that we've been setting up, so we'll share that to like the groups and on the pages and whatnot when they, right when they go live.
So this is going to be which one's going to Mixed Result? What was it?
Mixed Results.
Mixed
will be
Results
the first
will be the first release. You gonna have a big party or what? Release party for your company and for this.
I don't really know. Mixed Results is tricky because they like to remain anonymous.
Oh, they do.
It's like our first release is kind of we're trying to talk them into some things, but our first release is a little tricky, but it's going to be fun. But we're trying to work on getting them to do like an in-store or something, And then Loose Trucks, there'll be something big, probably maybe at Alex's Bar in Long Beach or something. And there'll be some live streams. And then Paul and I have a thing we've got coming up with Rick Hostage and with their podcast, their old one. They're resurrecting it. It's called Surf and Destroy. Oh. And Loose Trucks will probably be on there with us because they asked me to do it with them. So it's going to be the three of us. So we got that going. There's like a lot of moving parts. and I'll be shooting all the bands too. So, You're
living the dream, it sounds like. I like a good life.
I do. The best part, sober. Then I get to be a mom and do all the mom stuff. and I get to, be around all these incredible sober people that are also musicians, and I'm living my best life.
So what, it's funny, where just you mentioned Jack's book, Principles. So when earlier you were saying, the reason one of the times you weren't working the principles of the program. So what are the principles of the program for you? What are the main key points of that? How does that look like in your life today?
I think there's probably something in here.
Well, take a look at it. What's
see.
your share with us, we got some pictures in there too.
I know.
Like.
Oh, you want to see?
I can see it, but the audience won't be able to see it unless we click it on.
You can zoom in. That's my last drunk when I was 19. Wait, is it on the right camera?
You got to go into this one.
This one? Okay, there. Right here?
Hold on, let me see if I can zoom in.
That's my last drunk when I was, this way.
That looks pretty
there
good,
you
huh?
go. Look at all that.
Look at that.
I'm 19 years old. That's crazy, right?
That is crazy. What other pictures you got?
Oh my
While
God.
we got you all zoomed in on there, what other
Okay,
photos
well,
you got?
these are the principles of the program, so I'll just get it. This,
Hold on, where are we at, boss?
this is
What do
right.
you think?
Wait, not that one.
What do you think? A little more?
Let's see.
One? I messed it up.
There's a picture.
Yeah, that looks good.
There's a picture in here somewhere of here's me 30 days clean. That first time.
Oh, look how sexy you look there.
That I went from
Quite
that.
the menace. I was going to say something. Yeah, hit one of those cheering buttons, the top left corner. See one button? No, what's the other one? Hit it. One of them.
It's
top left or right? The top two. Oh, look at this cheering.
Yeah, that's 30 days clean.
30
so
days, guys and girls, that's what you'll look like if you get sober. You'll look like
that's when I was about probably 19 or had just turned 20 or something.
All right.
And that was
so
the
we
first
know what
time.
you were on tour. I was going to say that name. Oh, that wasn't your name back then. Right?
No, I have.
Jena does have that sound
Generator
to it. Generator
was the first trademark name.
Okay. The Generator, kind of like the Terminator.
It was actually a name given to me by Scully, who is a tattoo artist in Sunset Beach.
All right.
He was. We went out when I was in program the first time, and he would tease me and call me all these names that had Jena in them, and I'd get very upset. Stop calling me that! And then he kept calling me Generator, and it stuck, and I couldn't get rid of it, so I just embraced it.
And then you created a company, named it.
Yeah. And if you
and then isn't that your Instagram handle too, or something?
Yeah, and it's also my license plate on my car.
Oh, nice.
And it's been since I was 19.
And what do you sell at the Generator and Company? What goes on over there?
I haven't been selling much on that.
So you're building.
I've had Generator and Company for decades.
Okay, got it.
You know. So now everything that I do is through Sneaky Thumbs, Menace magazine.
Oh yeah, Sneaky
merch.
Thumbs. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Sneaky Thumbs.
Sneaky Thumbs.
So how did the name come about? How did you get Sneaky Thumbs?
Well, because.
So you got this record company now because the Hostage Records closed or just changed names, basically retired it. Yeah, and then he partnered with you. You guys invested in this thing. Now you got these two labels. You got two albums you're cutting. They're going to come out here pretty quick. When do you expect Mixed Results to be available?
It's in pressing now.
Okay.
So, and we already have the jackets, and I think we're finishing up the liner notes now. So I would guess before Christmas. That's my guess, and then Loose Trucks will be shortly thereafter.
Got it.
So Sneaky Thumbs, the story, how it came to be.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out a name. Paul and I were for days going back and forth with all these different ideas, and the one that stuck with him was this thing I always talk about is Sneaky Thumbs, because us girls, our backs are always hurt, and we always want the back rub. We never end up with the back rub because
I love where this is going.
The men always have sneaky thumbs.
I like this already because I get it. I totally identify
I'll
with back
rub
rubs.
your back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Sneaky Thumbs.
And it's like now, our backs still hurt. We never got the back rub because the damn
100%.
Sneaky Thumbs.
Yeah, right. I get it, 100%. Yeah.
And Paul just, he really liked it. and I think I had created in the drunk tank behind the scenes, because it's something that I make a joke about, like, live all the time, the sneaky thumbs thing.
Right.
And then my sponsor made a group chat behind the scenes and named it the group chat. And I guess, just Paul just really liked it, and he's like, "Well, what about?" I'm all, "That's the name we got to stick with."
And it looks cool. The logo is just like, it's cool.
Yeah,
It is cool. I get it.
Chris Extit made the logos.
Oh, Chris. We know Chris too. Yeah. That's cool. So basically, you kind of got like a good group.
Which explains why the logos are why the way they look, because he's so funny.
Yeah, that's funny. Actually, Chris, he used to I don't tell any stories about anybody. But yeah, that's awesome though. I noticed Chris is doing a lot of stuff too out there in the music world right now. It's pretty exceptional to see where he's going.
Yeah,
just in these last,
Raising Jane, the Antivirals, Das Clown, the Vigilantics.
He's just all over, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a busy bee.
Okay, the principles. What's going on with the principles?
I live my life by the principles on this card.
Okay.
And when I say the principles, this is what I mean. They go along with each step, and they are honesty, hope, faith, courage, integrity, willingness, humility, brotherly love, justice, perseverance, spiritual awareness, and service.
That's it.
And I really, really do live my life according to these.
So what, like, I understand the principles too. I actually, if I go to my phone, usually on my phone, my screensaver right now, well, I got this new phone, so it doesn't have it on, but I have that same. I wonder, how do you like find screensaver on your phone?
I don't know. Ask Siri.
I know, I was gonna right here, because I'll put it back on my phone too. Like,
oh gosh.
What time do you have to go?
I just have to be out
Yeah,
here.
it's about 1:44. It's about time to wrap it up, I guess.
No, I'm not rushing.
Oh.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I don't have to leave here until 2:30.
Okay, got it.
So we're fine.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely wrap it up by 15 minutes. So one of the things that when I look at the principles of the program, and people talk about the 12 steps, right? And each principle, like honesty, is in reference to step one. And I think that, like, a lot of times people say, hey, the only thing you have to do 100% is step one, which they reference not drinking, right? Just don't take that first drink. That's all you have to do 100%. But when I took a look at those principles and I read the word honesty, and I applied the idea that the only thing you have to do 100% is to be honest. Like, so I started looking at what it means to me.
You're right.
So, because for me, my whole problem was like
that would scare somebody new off.
Well, I mean,
sure.
The idea of being honest is very, is a very difficult principle to live by, especially when you live by this. You grow up in this environment where nobody really knows, like, especially if you're a substance entrepreneur, nobody knows. Everybody knows it's something different. Nobody knows the truth about anything. Only you know the truth about it, because that's just the way you have to play the game.
That's right.
So he knows this, they know this, she knows this, she knows that, and everybody knows something different. So especially when you start out as a young person, like you said, you started out as very young. I also started out around that. At a very young age, from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, 11th grade, I was surrounded by it at an unprecedented level, I think. And even when I was just the best friend of the main drug dealer, right, I learned a lot, right? And so, but what I learned was how to be, not that I was dishonest, but I learned how to play this game. And it never included telling the truth. And so when I got into recovery and I saw this, and I referenced and I started looking at, like, what does it mean to me, the principle of honesty, and how valuable that became when I realized this is the one area that I suffered the most in. Because I'll never forget when I watched Scarface, when he's in a restaurant and he's just all drunk and he's on a good one, and he's yelling at the waiter and everybody in the restaurant. And she's doing lines of Coke on the table or whatever. And he says, I never lie, even when I tell the truth. And I remember him saying that. And I thought, what does that mean? Because it seems like that's like how I live my life. Like, I never lie, even when I tell the truth. And I almost felt like it was just saying, everything I say is a lie, but I make it sound like the truth. Or in this movie, it's more like my life, everybody else is lying, but my life is an open book, right? And so I'm the only one, even in my lies, that's actually telling the truth. It's a kind of a weird thing to think about, but my point was that the hardest part of my sobriety was honesty. So in your recovery, when you look at those 12, and then as I worked through the steps, I started realizing that each one of those steps plays an integral role in my character flaws and in the personality that I had established, because I wanted, like you, to be cool. The whole thing, I just want to be cool. And having faith wasn't cool.
I think what was hardest for me would be checking my motives and perception. Okay. Because I always looked at the negative of everything. There was never a positive side to anything.
So where on that? So what? Checking your motives and what?
And perception. The way I perceive things. It was always like the worst of the worst. Like they must hate me. Like because they didn't smile when they walked by. You know what I mean? It couldn't be that they were in the middle of something and rushing, or, they couldn't have their own problems. It had to be about me.
Well, sure,
know? And so my perception about just anything was always negative, because my head was a liar, and it just lied constantly all day long. And I was very impulsive, and so learning to stop and check my motives. Because when you get to 6 and 7, as we know, you're working on your shortcomings and your character defects. And so by the time I'm in that area and all the patterns have emerged and the stars have aligned and the aha moment's like, oh, boy, I got some gnarly ones that I didn't even ever consider, right? Mm-hmm. Checking my motives before I say or do something was exhausting. It was so, I remember being... because every minute of every day, like I wanted to say or do something crummy, right? And so, like, by the end of the night, I was exhausted from correcting myself all day long.
So I have a saying, like, when what you're talking about is super important, actually, because my whole life was based on ulterior motives. Everything I did. So like what you're talking about right now is in contrast to the way I used to live. Everything I did was based on an ulterior motive.
How is it going to benefit you?
That's right. So I would come at you this way because there's an ulterior motive to me coming at you this way. And this is the hardest part about being in recovery and being a guy who has lived his life, or a girl who has lived his life a certain way, because the hidden agenda was the other word. See, that goes along with the type of personalities that live this life, the previous life that we've had. And it sounds like you've had a similar life. But I had struggled with this whole concept of like contrary action, because what you're just talking about
doing
right now.
Doing what you don't want to do and you don't want to do it.
Well, think about it. Like everything I did was based on ulterior motives. And even today, and it's kind of sad to say, everything I do still is based on, I have this, it's not a hidden agenda, because I'm, like I said here, I want to, like even us right now, there's nothing hidden about wanting to help other people recover. I thought that we have a sticker out on one of the refrigerators in the other room that says recover loudly. And I know that might be an organization, because if we don't, people are going to die, and I think a lot of some of the mistakes we make sometimes in the anonymous part of our program is that sometimes we should be speaking up when we're not, or we should be calling people out when we're not. When I first got into recovery, there was a lot of calling out going on. Now, people's feelings get hurt, and you can't pull their covers because they're going to pull their victim mentality on you, and then it's going to turn into, oh, you know what, I'll just go get another, I'll just go hang out with them.
I will agree with all that, and I think on top of all like how we're relating with these topics is the patience. So once we've grown, and some sort of grown past and better, and we're now like automatically starting to catch ourselves and check our motives. It's not so exhausting, but we're checking them daily, right?
Right. Yeah.
And our perceptions are like happier, and we're like, is it kind? Is it loving? Does it bring joy? No. Okay, don't do it. But then you got to go
Nobody
around.
can like really to have that on your
It's a constant tape in my head.
Is it okay?
I
Say
mean,
that
I
again.
did
What
it
is it? Is
so-
it kind? Is it loving? Is it?
Does it bring joy?
Does it bring joy? Is
And
it
if-
kind, loving, and does it bring
and if
joy?
if it doesn't, it's like
Don't do it.
stop, rethink, bite your tongue, like think about what's going on around you, and the ripple effect,
Right.
and how that's going to affect the next person and the next person, and then be like, should I be saying or doing it, right? And then on top of that, there's like you've grown so much in recovery, then it's like you have to practice patience because of the other people aren't there yet.
Right.
And you have to remember you're there to be of service to them, not be like, they're going to complain about themselves all day. You know what I mean? But we had to do it too. So then it's like the next step in that is practicing the patience and the love, and extending that hand and grace where the newcomer is.
Right.
So it's like then you got a new thing to practice, like patience.
Well, what's funny is like going through the principles. I think somewhere down there where it says brotherly love or I don't know, steps 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, or 8 is brotherly love. 8 is brotherly love, yeah. And essentially that's making amends, and it's like really amending our behavior.
Yeah.
It's really how we have to approach the newcomer and not be our old judgmental, critical, and self-centered,
Being the living
self-righteous.
amends.
Yeah, that's a living amends.
And never, and work doing your damnedest to never be the person that you used to be.
So you're still doing a lot of meetings then?
Yeah, I do. The main meeting that I do is on Thursday. That's my home group. It's the Drunk Tank meeting, and it's you can message me if you're listening to this Facebook, and I'll give you the Zoom code.
Okay, so online.
Yeah, it's Thursday nights at 7 p.m. here in California. But
Okay.
anybody's welcome to come in, and we're going through. We're reading out of the book Program for You, and this little group that we have is all about growing in recovery together. And so we go through different books, like we went through Ripple Effect, and then the second book to that, and then now we're doing Program for You, and I don't know what we're doing after that yet, but we've grown a lot in recovery and helped each other do that. So that's my home group, and then I go to the Wednesday meeting, and there's a few others, and sometimes I hit the Nooners at How Hall because it's just like right there, and but yes, I'm very active. I do once a month I bring people over to Phoenix House, and I do a panel over there.
Oh, nice.
And I've brought some really incredible speakers, and you're going to be next. Just warning you.
Yeah, I'd love to come. I love it. My whole life is like recovery too.
So
I do that. Like that's it's what I do. That's where we're doing.
Once a month we do that, and then at the end of the year, the Drunk Tank group raises money.
Yeah.
And brings in 80 Christmas gifts for all
nice.
the residents there.
Okay, cool.
And we have a really good time, putting those together and getting those going. And we've just been in service to them, for a few years now.
Has anybody ever mistaken you for Dennis?
The Menace?
I'm just kidding.
Nope. I'm cuter.
Yeah, you're way cuter. But I was like, but hey, listen, I know our production guy has to go. He's got another appointment. But because we kind of have to wrap it up.
Awesome.
But what I want to do is, I really like talking to you. You're super cool, and no matter what, the goal is like, is to pick this up like again, because we're trying to as obviously we want to get as many people to like and subscribe and try to share our stories and our experiences with the other people so that they can contact us and find out what we do to stay sober.
Yeah.
How they can, my sponsor used to tell me all the time, if you do what I do, you'll get what I get.
That's right.
And I like to think of the 12-step recovery program as a program of prosperity. I mean, honestly, as much as it is about recovery, it is an opportunity. It is an opportunity, and you're a great example of somebody who's been able to take the opportunity that sobriety has given you and then parlay that into success. And I think that that's an important part of recovery too. And
it's giving you a lot of gifts.
Yeah, it's giving you a lot of gifts. And if you stay sober, and if you stay and you work your program, you get to maintain and keep those gifts. And most importantly, like any gift, what's the best part of a gift? It's giving it away.
Yeah.
And the feeling that you get from that is the experience we want to share.
That's why I do so much service work, and that's why I'm so serviceful to the music community and the recovery community. I'm very active in both. My whole heart is in service. Like I said, I just received a master's degree in assistive technology and human services.
Amazing.
And,
See, look at that. From like
I know
entrepreneurial of not of ulterior motives.
Who would have thought that I'd have 3 degrees?
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know how it happened, but that is in a full serviceful. That's a serviceful position to have a degree in, and it's just the way I live now. I couldn't imagine a life where I wasn't giving back what was so freely given to me. I love my life. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. I'm a mom. I'm a freaking mom. And there's people tuning in, I'm sure of it, that have known me since I was a kid. And they too would never believe that I would have the life that I have,
Amazing.
that I would have the friends that I have, the communities that I have, and to go on all these grand adventures that I go on and have the best kid in the whole world. And, and I'm sober. And I'm sober. Oh, I should have told you guys that. I am sober 14 years. So my sobriety date is April 18th, 2010. And that's 5 days after my belly button birthday. So that tells you everything you need to know on that road to recovery.
All right. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Jena Menace.
Yeah, you can find me at Facebook, all the places.
She's the Jen of all trades, everybody.
I
and
do.
She's been a special, and just you're such a special person. You have a special smile. You look beautiful, by the way.
So.
Your hat looks amazing. I love it. Your little I always wanted to be able to. The problem with when I wear a hat like that, because I got a little Japanese in me, a little German in me, I never look as cool as what I see in my head.
You just got to find the right hat.
I got to find the right hat. When I wear a hat, I just don't look as cool as like the visual that I have, because I want to be cool, but I just could never be as cool as the other guys. Anyway, I just want to say thanks for joining us on the Sober Voyager podcast. You guys, please like, subscribe, share, do everything you can to help us generate as many views as you can, because we want to be popular too, just like everybody else, and we want to be cool, and we want you to be a part of our lives.
We already are cool.
We already are cool.
But if you want to see how cool we are and how cool our life is, like, subscribe. His page, my page, their page, all the pages.
We'll have all the links to Jen's stuff. If you want to contact her, we'll put it in all the descriptions and stuff like that. And she's going to be coming back here again within the next 3 to 4 weeks. I guarantee that. We're going to have a lot of fun together. And the best part, one of the best parts is this, I get to make friends with you and get to know you and now we get to share some recovery together. Right. I think that's going to be an exciting part.
It will. We have a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be crap.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Any last things?
I don't know. Just if you're looking to find somebody that can guide you in recovery, and you're feeling hopeless and you're feeling lost, there's somebody out there that cares. I'm one of them. He's one of them. Just reach out. Hope is not all gone. Things may be bad, but it can get better one day at a time.
Thanks for joining us. Well, everybody have a great rest of the day. Be blessed.